Hello, my name is Gail Wachy-Kislevitz, and I have the pleasure of speaking with Tom Derderian on behalf of the Ted Corbitt Institute for Running History Research. Tom was born in 1949 in Milford, Massachusetts, right next door to Hopkinton, the start of the Boston Marathon. He attended Milford High School and the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. He is a journalist, author, and coach for more than 50 years for the Greater Boston Track Club. Other notable facts I want to pass on about Tom is that he has a PR of 2:19 at Boston 1975, which he has run over 15 times and has run over 30 marathons total. He ran in the 72 and 76 Marathon Olympic trials. His coach was Bill Squires in the mid-70s, along with teammates Bill Rogers, Bill Fitzinger, and Jack Futz. He is most proud of writing his Boston Marathon books, which I have on my shelves. They're a wonderful, wonderful history of the Boston Marathon. And he is also the executive producer of the documentary Boston, An American Running Story, which, if you haven't seen, will bring you to tears, and it's narrated by Matt Damon. So I could go on and on about Tom, but I'm going to kick this off with the questions, such as, when did you get interested in athletics, Tom?
Well, it's always curious. Freshman year of high school, my friend Joey said, "Hey, I got an idea. Let's go out for the track team." I said, "Oh, yeah, okay." I mean, I had played the regular schoolyard baseball, football, and I certainly was not great at those things. So why not? So go to track practice. Okay, what am I going to do? Let's try throwing the iron ball. That didn't work all that well. Okay, let's see how far I can jump. I can defy gravity. No, I can't. I can't do that. There are lots of sprinters. So the only thing left was to be more stubborn than anyone else and run a lot. Now, I was rather oddly fortunate. In the first 2 years of high school, I wasn't paying much attention. It was just something to do after school. And then for some reason, and this has always been curious to me, I decided I'm going to get good at this. I don't know why. I wasn't interested in being particularly good at running earlier than that. But beginning before junior year, I had the fortuitous pen pal. Now, this is something schools did in those days. You got a person to write to in another country. My guy just happened to be in New Zealand. He lived on South Island in Gore. His name was Bill Tuddy, and he was a runner, and he was under the Arthur Lydiard influence.
Oh boy, you picked the best. You picked the right pen pal.
I didn't. That was purely luck. So we talked about running, and he told me what he'd been doing. Now, my high school track coach, a wonderful guy, but the football coach, he was interested in getting his guys in shape for football. The cross-country coach was the basketball coach who was interested in getting his guys ready for basketball. They knew hardly anything about running. But I was getting this information from Bill Tuddy on the other side of the world. He'd run these times way faster than me. He would do this training such as weekend run 20 miles through paddocks and hills. Now, I didn't know what a paddock was. I knew what hills were. And I knew what 20 miles was. And everyone in my high school was saying, no, 5 miles a day, you're going to burn out. You're going to burn out 5 miles a day. I ran 5 miles yesterday, 60 years later, and I haven't burned out yet. So once I started doing those kind of workouts, I was the only kid in my conference who actually trained. So by senior year, I was utterly, absolutely unbeatable.
I bet. Yeah. In the 60s, running was a sport that the other coaches used to either discipline you or, to punish you, in another sport. But you found out that it was a sport all in itself.
And without a lot of training, sprinters could sprint pretty well, and they were competitive with each other. And same with some of the throws and the jumps. Um, it didn't take the enormous amount of time and patience that getting really good at running does.
Yeah.
So my
Well,
senior year of high school, I was kind of a young jerk, and I thought all I needed to do was win the races, and and I tried to win the races by as small a margin as possible, because that would interest the girls who came to watch the meets.
an ulterior
Uh,
motive.
uh, hmm, well, okay, here's a mile race, and these kids go out in 63 seconds for the first 400. I'm in last place because I know these guys are not going to run a 4:12 mile. And I knew that. They didn't know that. And so slowly I worked my way up. And by the last lap, these guys are utterly exhausted. And it looks like I am uncorking this humongous sprint to go for the win. But it really wasn't all that fair because these guys were virtually untrained and I was. And
Yeah. Well,
all
good.
that changed, of course, when I got to college. And everyone was a wise guy like me.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's the beauty of our sport. It really is for everyone. And if you train well, you can do well. So, the next question is, was running the only sport you participated in, or did you do baseball, football, or none of those? As you said, you weren't good at them.
Oh, well, I played football in junior high school. I would tackle a guy and he'd keep going. Uh, uh,
So as you continued running and did marathons and racing, did you later on compete in age group competitions?
well, by the time I turned 40, um, uh, I really wasn't particularly interested in competition at that point. Uh, I mean, I would go to races, but I really didn't care if I won my age group or not. Uh, it just seemed a little silly to me that I'm 39 and I'm one age group, and I turn 40 and I can be declared the winner. Like, so, I, and that can continue to the ages. I mean, I never grew up with age groups in running. There were old guys in races, and yeah, you knew the old guys, and you knew this old guy who was now much older than me, who I beat, but had won the Atlantic City Marathon in 2:30 in 1960.
Mm,
Uh, so you knew that about people.
right.
Really, he didn't need to be declared an age group winner. He was already a winner.
Yeah. Well, you're
So they
you're
went
one of
that.
you're one of the few people over 40 or over 50 or over 60, over 70 who are not interested in age group, trophies or places. Most of the people that I run with, like, we can't wait to get that age group race.
Well, it's pretty amusing in
It is
the club
amusing.
nationals. In the club nationals cross country, you wear your age on your back.
Oh, that makes you a target.
Well, which is pretty funny because here I am running. I pass a guy when I was in my 60s. I pass a guy with a 40 on his back. Well, if I'm passing him, he's not very good. So I just go right by, and he doesn't respond because he doesn't have anything to respond with.
Uh-huh.
But when I pass a guy with a 60, he sees the 60 on my back and he goes nuts. And that's pretty funny. I mean, the competition is the thing.
Yeah.
Whether you're designated winning or not doesn't matter so much as if the races are close and it comes down to some tactics, that's fascinating.
Hmm.
If you move on this hill, that hill, do you wait to the finish? That's the game, the very little bit of gamesmanship that's in our sport.
Yeah.
When do you go? When do you kick?
You're a tactical runner, which I hope that's what you're teaching as you coach.
Yes, because the people I coach are post-collegiate, and unlike professional runners, they don't have all day. They have jobs. They're graduate students. They cannot take naps in the afternoon after their morning run in preparation for their afternoon run. So it's the competition against other runners who are in the same boat. So I am particularly dedicated to post-collegiate competition.
That's
Uh,
good.
uh, I mean, we have vast numbers of people who train in college, were on college teams, and they had lots of time to train, finish classes in the afternoon, go down to the gym. The team is there. Everything is easy.
Hmm.
Then you get out and you have a job. Things aren't so easy.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. It makes it
but you still
difficult.
want to stick with the sport. So you have to accept that you're not going to live up to your potential. However, hardly anyone's potential is going to be as lucrative as whatever job they have after college.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm.
That's true. So here's another question. Did you keep a scrapbook, training, or racing diaries and photos throughout the years?
No, I wasn't very good at chronicling myself.
All right. Yeah. Most people did not. So what do we talked a little bit about this in the introduction. What running club or clubs did you compete for? Anything
Uh,
besides
mm,
Greater Boston?
yeah, I briefly, well, originally I competed for the North Medford Club. And then when I went off to live in Oregon working for Nike, I ran for the Portland Track Club. Then I came back and briefly ran for BAA, and then started coaching at Greater Boston. And I thought it would be appropriate to not show up at races with Greater Boston while wearing a BAA t-shirt. No.
True, true, true. So when you were running in your prime, what did a typical training week look like?
Well, I ran a lot of high mileage, and
Like 100? Did you run over 100 miles a week?
oh yeah, that was kind of required. That was sort of baseline. I thought that I couldn't really start training until I'd put together 400-mile weeks. Then I could jack
400.
it up, and then I add speed work and hills. A lot of my running was in on varied terrain at varied paces, so it was like sort of daily fartlek.
Hmm.
So sometimes I would go very hard up a hill, and sometimes I would stop at the top of the hill and look at the view, jog down. Maybe I would run a particular street very fast, maybe not. Um, so it was all speed play according to how I was feeling at the moment.
Uh-huh.
Now, this is, I was by that time quite experienced at training. So I knew what racing pace would feel like physiologically, whether I was on a trail or a road or on a grassy field.
Hmm.
So I could understand that. So my fartlek runs were similar to the kinds of stress in an interval workout on a track,
Hmm.
even though I was running alone.
Right, right. What was your highest mileage weeks?
Uh, oh, that's very interesting. Sometime in the 70s, uh, it became clear that I could improve on my 2:19 marathon and run 5:10 miles, but only if I trained 140 miles a week. My highest week ever was 144 miles, and I had a full-time job that involved get up, run 10 miles, go to work, run 10 miles, go home, eat, sleep, repeat, day after day. And I was pretty sure I could get a 2:15 marathon out of that. However, that would put me just barely in the top 10 in the Greater Boston Track Club, behind Billy and Randy and Jack Foltz and Dickie Mahoney and on and on. And nowhere near making the Olympic team and nowhere near making a living.
Wow. What was
Uh,
your job at the time?
I was managing a store in Amherst. So I was a store manager, and I had a bit of a luxury in that I was in control of my hours. I didn't have any boss telling me that I had to work this shift or that shift.
But that's
So
what
I
it
could,
took. I mean, running 144 miles with a full-time job, that's what it took back then to compete at that level. and still you were not, you never made, did you ever make your 2:15 or you never made it? Your
No,
2:15 marathon.
no, no,
Was that a big disappointment?
no. That was a sensible decision.
All right, good.
It's much, much easier to run 100 miles a week and go to races and be competitive. Yeah, I would still win some races at that lower training, but I wasn't altering my physiology. It was a decision that I am no longer going to try to be faster than I've ever been. I mean, I was already at it for 10 or 15 years.
Yeah. What was the allure of Boston? Was it just because you lived by the course, or was it the legend of Boston, the allure of Boston? You ran, and I know we talked about this, that you're not a streaker, but you ran it 15 times.
Well, because it was there.
Yeah,
It was
Sarah.
local. It was easy to get to. And also, your listeners will be amused by this. My first marathon was Boston in 1967. And I could enter April 1st, and the entry fee was nothing. There was no entry fee. I was 18. So why not? Why not give it a shot? It's the next town over. Okay, I only got halfway that year.
Oh,
It was wonderfully won by a New Zealander.
well, I know a lot of people don't know that Bill Rogers also dropped out of his first marathon.
Lots of people did, yes.
Yeah. And then went on to do bigger and greater things.
But the interesting point is I was venturing no dollars to do that.
Yeah.
Now, how about an 18-year-old kid? I could imagine myself at 18 going to my father and saying, could I have $120 to run a marathon? It would be half an hour before he got off the floor laughing.
Oh, and by the way, I need super shoes and it's going to cost $200. And I have to download a training plan. So yeah, a lot different. A lot different. But I am a huge history buff of the early days of the Boston Marathon. I could sit forever in front of John Kelly and all them who talked about no water, nothing on the course. They were open, dogs running back and forth. I mean, and they still posted the most amazing times.
Yeah, one can only speculate what would any of those guys do with current training methods and current technology and current training partners.
Oh, I know. It'd be amazing to see that. We need a time machine and go back and bring all those things to them.
As I told you earlier, I used to be a young jerk. And when I started running marathons, I looked at all these times. Oh, Clarence DeMar, I would have beat him by miles. Kelly, yeah, way ahead of him. And I would have won all these marathons up until the 50s. Pretty easily. I could have been reading a magazine while beating these guys. However, the life of a young man in 1910 was not like the life of a young man in 1970.
Mm-hmm.
It's a world of difference.
Yeah.
And I tried to appreciate that in the history book I wrote.
Yes.
The marathon can reflect the world as it changed in its economics. I mean, a lot of these guys in the early years worked labor jobs.
Yes.
They were loading wagons and driving horses, and I didn't do that.
No, they were not the elite. They were not, part of any
roads
club.
were dirt. In fact, a lot of these guys. I mean, imagine this: you finish your run, you go home, but you're not going to be able to take a bath until Saturday night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because water had to be heated up on the stove and put it in the bathtub.
Yeah. One of my favorite marathon stories that you cover is the Greek who came over after World War II because his country was starving and he had no food. And it's amazing he won, but he had that passion to tell the world, my country is starving. That's such a great story.
Stylianos Kyriakidis was the Greek. And he ran a tremendous nip and tuck race with Old Kelly. This was in the 40s.
Mhm.
But that signaled a transition shift in the marathon. In the early days, the marathon was sort of militant. That marathoners were like soldiers, exhibiting endurance, because it was very important for soldiers to go from one place to another place quickly, and running was the way to get there. This was the model of Pheidippides.
Mhm.
It was young man enduring and fighting and dying for God and country. That's what the marathon was for,
Mhm.
not old people, and certainly not women.
Uh-huh.
The only point in racing was to try to win.
Mhm.
There was no health fitness factor. In fact, runners were considered to be running at peril to their health. So people would line the course at Boston waiting for these runners to drop dead. I mean,
Yeah, they're all
Pheidippides.
waiting for Pheidippides.
Yeah. That changed in the 50s. It changed to health and fitness with Eisenhower's president's physical fitness
Mhm.
plan. Dr. Paul Dudley White said that fitness was good. Exercise was good for you. It was good for your heart. Your heart did not have a fixed number of beats to it, and then you die.
Right.
It
And then
didn't
as
work that way.
kids, we all had to do President Kennedy's fitness
Right.
tests at school.
So that was a shift in attitudes.
Mhm.
And of course, the next shift in attitude was women with Bobby Gibb in '66.
Mhm. Yeah.
That
Finally,
always
we got to run.
curious to me. Why was it that women got the vote in 1922? So they were legal. They had rights. And Gertrude Ederle swam the English Channel, so women had endurance. Amelia Earhart flew across the Atlantic solo, so women had the courage. That was the 1930s.
Mhm.
Why did it take until 1966 for a woman to run the Boston Marathon? That
I
I
wish I
kept
had an
looking.
answer for you as a
Yeah, I
woman.
kept looking in the newspapers in all my research, and I didn't find anyone. Nobody until Bobby said, "Hey, I want to do this."
Yeah. Well, one, we didn't have any role models except for the women that you just mentioned, but that wasn't, running. That wasn't something anyone could attain. So that could have been a part of it. No role models, no one telling us we could do it. Just someone like Bobby that said, "Yeah, I think I can do this."
Well, she was amazing, but there was a role model for voters. Men voted, so women should vote.
Yeah.
Men did endurance things, so women should be able to do endurance things like swim the English Channel.
Yeah.
And men flew airplanes, so Amelia Earhart flew an airplane.
Yeah.
The marathon had plenty of male models, but no women takers.
Yeah.
That was interesting. I still don't have the answer to that.
No, I don't think we are. But this is why, as you and I talked a couple of days ago, why history and preserving history is so important. Maybe someday someone will answer that question, but we need the history and we need people to know the history before they can come up with those answers. Okay, so moving on to New York. Did you ever travel to New York? Well, I know you ran the New York City Marathon and placed fourth, so you did come down to New York for at least the marathon.
I ran at New York several times, many times. There was an Earth Day Marathon in Central Park. The New York City Marathon was in Central Park in the early '70s. And sometime before that, there was a marathon in McCombs Dam Park.
Oh, the
Cherry Tree.
Yes, you ran that.
I ran that when I was still in college.
Wow. Do you remember anyone on the course? Because Ted was always running that one.
Okay. I love to tell this story, and Gary loves to hear it. So I went to the race and looked around at the guys running, and the course had a lot of out and back to it, so you could see the guys behind you. And I saw this black guy. Now that didn't surprise me because I was on a college team, a lot of black guys running. So what? But he was an old guy. Now that was new to me. My college team didn't have any old guys. Now it's kind of amusing for me to think that he was an old guy being he was 50 and I was 20.
Well, that would make him old to a 20-year-old.
Yeah, no. And I thought, and he runs with a pained expression on his face. And I was looking at this. You know, they shouldn't let old guys run this race. It's bad for them. Look at his suffering. This guy, it's a sad thing. He's suffering and suffering. And I'm really fast college guy. I'm zipping along here at 5:30 a mile. And this guy is way back. Well,
So you pass him. You pass him thinking this poor old guy, that he shouldn't be out here.
Yeah. Well, he's coming toward me in the out and back sections. So I'm seeing him. And then, of course, my youthful exuberance, because I was 20, going to the death march. and he's getting closer. And it's like Godzilla is chasing me. This pained expression, old guy who looks like he's about to die is coming closer and closer. Fortunately, the race ended before he got me. But that developed a respect in me, a deep respect that lasts to this day, a respect for my elders.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
I chatted with him after the race. He was a totally pleasant guy, and he no longer had that pained expression on his face.
No, he used that against his competitors because they would, just like you, they'd think, oh, he's had it, he's tired, I'm gonna sprint right now, and then he would overtake them. He was a smart runner. So here's another interesting question. Did you ever race in the same races against women like Nina or Sarah May or any of the women that were out there running in the 70s?
Not exactly. The closest I came was the Salem Heritage Days 10K, and I'm with my North Medford Club training partner, Paul Schell, and we were lining up for the race. I was in high school. I wasn't particularly fast then. And there I see a woman. She was wearing these blue turquoise, shiny satin shorts. I said, Paul, who's that? And he said, oh, that's Sarah May. She's pretty good. She rolls sevens. And I said, hey, Paul, what do we roll? And he said, we roll sixes. I said, oh, okay.
All right. And what happened during the race?
I never saw her again.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I was way faster than any women, and I got much faster. So I never really raced against a woman.
All right. So in the same topic, in the late 60s, 70s, do you recall a lot of Black or Hispanic runners out there?
Not a lot, but I had Black friends who were runners, and I really didn't think much of it. There was a guy, Louis Paul in Cambridge. I would frequently trade places with him in races. Art Hall from Staten Island, and many others. I don't know statistically if the proportion of Black Americans in races was proportional to the population.
Okay.
But it just struck me as that, okay, the sport is more or less popular with different groups of people for whatever reasons.
True.
But I didn't see any physiological differences.
Okay. So now we're moving on to memories of publications. So I'll just name them and you can tell me if you received them, read them, knew about them. The Distance Running Journal by Austin Scott, Track and Field News by Burton Cordner Nelson, Track Technique by Fred Wilt, of course, The Long Distance Log by Brownie Ross, the New York Roadrunners newsletter, which Ted published, RRCEA Footnotes, and Distance Running News, which turned into Runner's World by Bob Anderson. Probably all of them.
No, not all of them. I had a subscription to Track and Field News, Long Distance Log, and Runner's World.
Okay. All right.
And then there was running times,
Yes, running
And then there were local running publications like New England Runner.
which you still write for.
Yes.
And you also used to write for Marathon and Beyond and all those
Yes.
great publications that unfortunately are gone, as is Running Times.
Well, I think people read less and get on their little
do.
devices more.
They do read less, but when I get New England Runner in the mail, I always look through it. It's just fun to finally see something in print. I'm not a real social media person, so I still like getting something in the mail that I can sit down and read. But
yeah, so do I.
yeah,
I prefer to read, particularly magazines, so I can see them from front to back,
right,
and not be just calling something on my screen which is completely separate from the rest of the publication.
right, and then it disappears. So
Yeah.
magazine you can keep. Good, that's something else we agree on. So next one is governing bodies of the sport. The Amateur Athletic Union, Road Runners Club of America, Road Runners Club of New York, NYRR, and other sports organizations. We should have written the BAA here. So I guess what Gary wants to know about is, what do you think of these governing bodies? Are they good for the sport? Do they offer anything for the runners?
Well, first, there is a role for governing bodies, just as there is a role for the officials, referees in any sporting contest. Somebody's got to make and keep the rules. Otherwise, it's not sport. You can't go to the track and decide which direction you want to run in. Okay, for a gross example. So there needs to be some governing body. Now, the governing body is torn by lots of different interests. Right now, USATF is the governing body of track and field, long distance running in the US post-collegiately. But there's the NCAA for college, then there's all the high school associations. They have slightly different rules. So it's complicated in that way, and ever more controversial. What is the USATF role in our sports? Is it to identify and nurture Olympians and world champions? Is it to bring along the youth? Is it, for my favorite, the post-collegiate athlete? And then how is that all balanced? How are all those competing, conflicting, and sometimes confluent interests dealt with? So that's an ongoing complication.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not a simple answer to that, because it's a complicated question.
Okay.
Now, the other force at work is commercial. And that's on two levels. There's the commercial producers of things like shoe companies and others who may sponsor athletes or sponsor events. And they have a financial interest because they have to, because they're businesses, and they have that fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders and owners to produce a profit. And they have to do that or they cease to exist. Same thing applies to the events. Events like the BAA, Chicago Marathon, New York Marathon are perhaps non-profit, but they have to come up with some sort of margin in order to continue existing. Mm-hmm. So they have to balance all their expenses with their costs. Like when I first started running, porta johns weren't invented. Now they're a major expense. Well,
oh, and the other big expensive marathons and races is police.
Right. When I was in a road race with 100 guys, you didn't need any police.
Mm-mm.
You didn't need any porta johns because you were in a building and the building had a bathroom. When you have 10,000 people, it's different.
Yeah, you need bathrooms and you need police.
So yeah, there are conflicts going on. Governing bodies maybe could take a stronger role in this. Perhaps there could be some differentiation in field of races. Like I always have an affection for all women races, and there are relatively few of them.
Yeah, the mini in New York is that might be no, there is a couple of other marathons I think that are there are marathons that are all female, but that is the longest all female race. The mini.
Well, yeah, there's something special to being in a lead pack of runners in the very front of the race, and the only thing in front of your pack is the lead car. And somebody's got to decide, am I going to go now? Am I going to take off on this pack?
Mm-hmm.
And you take off on this pack because you feel comfortable in the pack. Hey, I can beat all these. And you take off, and then this feeling, oh shit, what have I done? They can all see. They're all looking at the back of my head. They're like snipers drawing a bead on the back of my head, and they're going to try to kill me. What? Oh no! You go from comfort to panic.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're overjoyed. I hear them behind me. Oh, I hear them a little less. I hear them a little less. Uh-oh, I hear footprints.
Yeah, and you can't turn around. You can't turn around and look.
No, don't look back because you'll give them some encouragement. Well, in so many women's races, sometimes a woman is leading and doesn't even know she's leading. So I wish there were more all-women races, and why not more age group races? This happens in cross country because you have a closed course, so you can have the women's race, then you have the men's race, and you have the over 40 race, the over 60 race, the old ladies race, the old men's race. And so somebody has that great joy and panic of taking the lead or not.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, those tactics are what makes the sport fun to do and something more than a physiological test.
Right. And sometimes it's hard. Like I was in a 5K a couple of months ago, and I saw a woman in front of me, and I thought, oh my gosh, she looks my age. I better go get her. And she and I didn't know each other, but we looked at each other and we duked it out like kids in high school to the finish line. And afterwards, she beat me by a couple of seconds, but we hugged and we laughed about how we picked each other out of the crowd, knowing we were in the same age, and decided to go all out for it. And it was so much fun.
How did you feel when you found out she was 93?
Actually, she was 2 years younger than me. But if I thought, well, actually, yes, I was in another race, and I think it was Jan Merrill. No, not Jan Merrill. I'm sorry. Jan.
You mean Holmquist?
Holmquist. Yeah, she always does the race up in Massachusetts, the 10K. And she beats everybody, just about. She's amazing. And I love that women like Jan and other women are out there doing wonderful things for women runner. Like Jeannie Rice is about to run Berlin. She's 78. And she's trying to break her own world record of 3:33 that she set in London in April. And she'll probably do it. I love that. It's inspiring. But getting back to what we started talking about, the governing bodies, the AAU certainly didn't do a lot of good for runners. They might have done some good for runners, but a lot of their rules were antiquated, to say something. The best thing you could say about them.
Well, another thing about me that you didn't mention is that I was president of USATF New England for 4 years. So I was part of governing and a delegate and the head of a delegation to the national convention. And what would strike one going to those things is all the competing sports. And they're competing with themselves, but they're also competing for attention and dollars from the whole organization. No other sport is so different in its components. Like you have field events people, these friendly giants who throw stuff very far. You have jumpers. You have hurdlers, you have sprinters, sprinters being like twitchy, nervous types. Well, because their whole thing is the start. A minute inattention and it's over.
I know. I can't imagine that.
Yeah. And you have marathoners, you have middle distance runners, you have race walkers, then you have all the ages, and you have cross country as well as road races. So it's how do you govern that? Maybe a magic wand would say, no, this is the national governing body at all ages, from high school to college, to open to masters in cross country. Okay, and a separate one for track and field.
Yeah.
And a separate one for road races. Maybe, but anyway, that's not the system we have. And I'm not sure we should tear apart the system we have in order to implement another kind of structure that we're not sure would actually be an improvement.
Did you feel like you got anything accomplished or brought something new to the table?
Yeah, we did some new things, like in order to bring the events and the different people competing in different events, we come up with a series including a score for a track event, a road event, a cross country event, a mountain event, and score that as a series. So people who would not have run on a track ordinarily tried a track race. The idea was to create in our membership fans of all aspects of the sport, and not just a little alley. So mountain runners would only hang out with mountain runners, and track runners only with track runners.
Right. So that's good. We talked about track and field a little bit. Do you attend indoor track meets?
Yes.
Do you enjoy that?
Oh, very much.
Okay.
It doesn't rain on you indoor track meets.
Do you have a favorite indoor track meet that you watched that stayed memorable with you?
Well, I mean, I go to the meets in Boston.
Boston has great indoor meets.
Yes, and it just blows my mind to go to a track meet, a huge track meet with 25, 30 sections of the mile, and everyone in the first 3 sections breaks 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah. They've come a long way in the 4 minutes. High school kids are running 4-minute miles.
Yes. And then the meets often some have alternating men's, women's events, and some have men's, women's days and 2-day meets.
Are they well attended, the indoor meets that you go to?
Oh, yes. Quite well attended. The top ones at the BU track, and then New Balance has made their track. And my club puts on a meet at the Harvard indoor track, which was the first banked indoor, well, it's a 220-yard track, but that produced much faster times than the previous flat 200-meter indoor tracks. And the ones before that were wooden banked 11 laps to a mile track.
Oh, wow. Indoor track, yeah. I think indoor track is definitely a spectator-friendly event as opposed to watching a marathon. So they should be a lot more populated. And this past Olympics was so exciting. All the track and field events were just so exciting. I got my husband watching them, who never watches them. There's something very special about seeing how fast the human body can go. But even more than that, what I loved watching, and you mentioned this before, is the tactics they use when they make their surge. Who are they going to pass? How long do they wait? Do they wait too long? Do they blow it, or do they time it right? It's really exciting.
Well, in a track meet, you could sit there and watch the whole thing play out. And I love watching my guys race on the track because now I know what they did. I
Yeah.
know exactly what they did because I saw it all. In
And
the
I
road
mean,
race, mm,
obviously
in
you watching it, yeah, you're a coach, you know what you're watching, but it doesn't take that long for somebody who's new to the sport and maybe gone to their first track meet to pick up on it.
but in contrast with the road race, you stand there and watch them take off and they disappear and they come back and like, okay, what happened? Sometimes you can run from one spot on the course to another. But then I go out and I see my guys and I say, okay, what happened? Did that guy behind them, is he catching them? Is he not catching them? Did he just pass them? Or is that guy ahead? Is he catching the guy ahead? Or did the guy ahead of him just pass him? And I can't really shout anything, any particular instructions, because I don't know how it got that way.
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
good. That's a good point. Again, about why
It
indoor track
disappeared.
and field, yeah, indoor track and field is such a great spectator sport.
Now, perhaps if I had my own video drone following them around the course, I could see the whole thing. So yeah, track is much better spectator sport, and cross country races are often set up with lots of loops, so
Mhm.
you can see them much more often.
Yeah, you can see them coming and going.
But a point-to-point marathon is, oh,
Yeah, I know. It's deadly. It's deadly for
an act of
spectators.
faith. Yeah.
So another question more about New York. Did you know Fred Lebo or hear about him or have any thoughts on Fred?
Oh, I knew Fred Lebo very well. So I'm in lots of races. In fact, people in New York, I thought, treated me so very nicely
Well,
every time I
that's
went there. I mean, I would go for runs in Central Park and inevitably bump into people I knew. It was wonderful. I bumped into George Hirsch one day, and he was, this is when I first met him. He was running with a cast on his arm. Uh, that and that was nice, and it was a lot of time spent with Fred Lebo. But my favorite Fred story is we were sitting down having refreshment after the New London uh, uh, Ocean
oh,
Beach.
what is now the John Kelly race. Yeah.
Yes,
He
yes.
came up and ran it?
I don't know if he ran it. He was there.
Okay.
Anyway, we're sitting around afterwards, and he says, "What do you think about this? What do you think if we had the New York City Marathon go through each of the 5 boroughs? We start on Staten Island and go over the bridge." And I said, "Come on, Fred, do you think the city of New York is going to shut itself down for a bunch of marathoners?"
Uh, well, I'm glad he didn't listen to you.
Well, I didn't say don't do it. I just said it was going to be hard to do, and
Yeah.
it was hard to do.
And it was hard to do.
They did it, and of course, I didn't imagine the population of a small city running the race.
Mhm. Yeah. And now it's over 50,000 people that
And they
run
come from all over the world to do it.
all over the world. It
Sometimes
is,
I don't understand why, but
it has well, like unlike Boston, all you have to do is apply. You don't have to have a BQ. So that makes it a lot more popular. And it is a great spectator race. It's pretty fantastic, but so is Boston. Boston also, is a lot harder, I think. I think Boston, when people ask me the difference between running New York and running Boston, um, I see Boston as a lot more of a tactical course. You have to know how to run Boston if you want to do well.
that and the width of the streets,
Oh,
there's a
yeah,
lot more room in New York.
right.
I mean, Boston can't possibly accommodate that kind of field.
True. So you've we said a lot of marathons. What would you consider your toughest marathon course?
Uh, well, in the olden days, they would have marathons with some hill in them to be the challenge. Particularly, they would name the hill. In the Baltimore Marathon, it went out of the city and ran around the Ravenswood, some reservoir, and there were hills. and there was one hill called Seder Hill. Uh, Heartbreak Hill, Seder Hill, Death to You Hill. But that was part of the challenge.
Mhm.
Now, of course, it's a flat fast, and that's the appeal.
Yeah, true. You see that
So,
everywhere. Flat, fast,
so
BQ course.
yeah, but putting hills in it required what you mentioned earlier, some sort of tactics, some sort of planning, and some sort of sense of what was coming and how to deal with it.
Did
And
you
that
ever
made races interesting.
run Yonkers?
No,
Now that was a hilly course.
yes, so I've heard.
Yeah. Okay. So what else are we going to ask? Are there any stories you would like to share about any individual who influenced your running career? Or just stories about the sport and how it's grown and how it's changed?
Yeah, I'll tell
You're
you
the historian. This is you.
Okay, two stories on that. The runners who influenced me. Um, the biggest influence and inspiration is the guys who finished ahead of me. Like,
Oh, I like that.
how dare they beat me? And I spent the whole race looking at their butts. So that was the goal. Get that ass. Now I hear from guys who raced against me, in the past, and they have all these stories about me that I know nothing about because they were the guys behind me chasing me, and I didn't see them, but they spent the whole race looking at my backside.
Right. And in that situation,
mm.
you were their inspiration.
Right. So that's where the big inspiration comes from. I mean, there was a guy who race after race would hang on me and now kick me. And boy, did that infuriate me. So I just trained far more than him, so he couldn't do that anymore. So there's a big inspiration from all your competitors who are, of course, your dear friends. I
Yeah,
mean, like,
that's the
I'm
best
running with
part.
this guy. Yeah, during the race, I want to kill him. After the race, big hug.
Mhm.
Because we were facing the same direction, we're facing the same things. In this sport, if you want to hurt the other guy, you got to hurt yourself in the process. So you're sharing the same agony. It's not like football where you slam into somebody. Uh, you're going through the same thing they're going through. Very few sports have their competitors all facing the same direction.
That is true. You're
And
right.
they're essential. I mean, you can't run a good race or justify a good race unless there was somebody there. It's not the time you ran, it's who did you beat? Who beat you? Who were you racing against?
Yeah.
Who were you running elbow to elbow with? That's the
Right.
joy of it.
Yes.
Other thing, people talk a lot these days about the super shoes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I I gotta confess that it's my fault.
Oh, when you worked at Nike.
In the 80s, I made the very first carbon fiber shoe. It was and there it was. It was a shoe with the carbon fibers, and I I had that idea. We could put these light things in a shoe and get some springy action from them. Uh, however, they broke. I mean, this is the process of invention. And then we tried putting things around them to keep them from doing that. We put foam around, but then the foam wore out because it wasn't tough enough.
Mhm.
And that was in the early 80s. And those shoes were in the Nike archives. And other guys kept coming along, other designers after I left, and worked on them. Chemists were developing foams that were light and tough. So these innovations were the product of lots of people and lots of time and lots of money and lots of research to produce these shoes that, well, what I like to call it, and members of my group then called it the cost of cushioning. Picture this. Picture this. Okay, you're running on the barefoot on this lovely beach, nice soft sand. run, run, run. Nice, nice, nice. Look at the waves. Okay. Then you got this place with all these little pebbles.
Yeah, it
Now you
doesn't
have to
feel so
do
good.
these. Yeah, but you have to do these steps to cushion your feet so they won't hurt. So you're doing these little steps and bouncing in the air. That's highly inefficient.
Mhm.
So if we could make shoes that made that cost of using your own musculature to cushion your footfalls, then you're going to be using less oxygen for cushioning yourself, for protecting yourself, and you'd have that available for propulsion.
Mhm.
That was the whole science of those shoes, and that's a progression from running barefoot to having shoes, with a little bit of bouncy stuff, like Nike's first attempts at this sort of thing with the air shoes, and they were better to run in than shoes that had a more solid internal structure.
Mhm.
So yeah, the super shoes are a great innovation, and certainly to me not at all unfair in the sport.
No, I don't think they're
Down,
unfair either, but they're,
downhill courses are unfair, and the prices may be unfair.
but your shoes are not.
Yeah, well, this is if your profession is running, yeah, the shoes are worth it. Well,
Well,
particularly
it's like cycling. If you want
yeah.
to win in cycling, you have to own that $20,000 bike.
I mean, I can't wear my Schwinn
No, that's not going to win. You're not going to win
balloon
a race.
tire, right? Yeah.
No. All right. So here's another question that Gary wants to know. Did you participate in the Roadrunners Club of America certificate program? Do you know what that is?
Nope.
Okay. Well, then the certificates came in following categories: first and second class, veteran, world, and champion. To earn the certificates, you had to run in 3 different races. So, all right, we didn't do that.
Yeah.
Now, here are questions specific to you. Many aspects of the sport of long distance road racing was invented in New York. Do you agree or disagree?
Oh, I agree.
Okay. Please review the names on this list and discuss the people you feel had a significant role in the governance of the sport. Oh gosh, there's so many. Let me just ask you, who do you feel, the people that you know, and as a historian that you've studied, had a significant role in the governance development of our sport?
Just how about go ahead, go through your list.
Oh gosh.
I'm an endurance athlete. I can take it.
Kenny Abramson, Abe Assas, Barbara Paddock, Fred Best, Nick Bellotti, Lynn and Dave Blackstone.
Fred Best wrote well about the sport. Yes.
Okay. Jimmy Borden, Ed Bowes, Ron Brewington, Joe Burns, Vince Chiappetta, John.
He was a competitor from my era. So he was one of those inspirations ahead of me. And then I got better.
John Chodes. You know, he wrote a lot of books on Ted Corbitt. And Nat Cirulnik, John
Yes.
Conway.
Yes.
Oh, you know the
Yes.
Cirulniks? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
John Conway, Ruth Corbitt, who was Ted's wife, Gary Corbitt, of course, Mike Devaney, Mary Ellen and Patricia Orpiano, Robert Fine, Abe Forns, Michael Frankfurt, John Garlop.
I knew John Garlop, yeah, New York, Washington, D.C.
Barry Geisler, Arthur Gleberman,
Yes.
Bob,
Geisler.
Bob and Shelley Glover.
Yes,
Art,
Bob Glover.
Hall,
Yeah,
and
Bob
Campbell.
Glover wrote an early book about running, which was
Art Hall did? Oh, Glover did.
Glover,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, he wrote one of the first marathon training books.
Yes.
Joe Kirby, Joe Kleinerman.
Joe Kleinerman was one of those guys who was very nice to me when I went to New York.
Well, good.
He was a gem of a person, yes.
He was. And one of the early, pioneers of New York road running. Fred Lebo, of course, Larry Lesser, Dave Levy, Ed Levy, Dave Levy, Harry Lickenstein, Jim Lombardi, Rod McNichol, Susan Marcus, Pete McGirdle,
Yeah. Susan Marcus, I knew that, and Pete McCardle, yeah.
John McCarroll, Tom McCarthy, Joseph McCluskey, Jim McDonough, Gordon
Knew
McKenzie.
Well, Jim McDonough, I knew from running against him in Philadelphia Marathon.
Oh,
Um, yeah, and he was very tough in the Holyoke Marathon, in the race that was called the Holyoke Massacre, because it was like 90 degrees or something. I was entered in the race, but I went to the beach instead.
you made a good decision. That
But,
was like
yeah,
the year of Boston when they called it the run of the showers or the
the
sprinklers.
hoses, yeah.
Yeah, the run of the hoses.
Uh,
Gary Meltzler, Oscar Moore.
Oscar Moore, yeah, one of the early black guys.
Mhm. Jane and Gary Murky.
Oh, yeah. No, those guys I knew very well. Every encounter with Gary and Jane was a comedy show. Yeah, great guys.
Great,
Yes.
great people.
Yeah. What was the name of their store?
Super
Super
runner.
Yeah.
Yeah, he still owns one store. He has one store
Mm.
left. Harry Murphy, Jim O'Connell, Mike O'Hara, Elizabeth Phillips, James Rafferty, Peter Roth.
Yes, I know him. Yes.
Of course, Norb Sander,
Yep.
Betty
Named
and
the track meet after him. Very appropriate.
yes, Betty and Aldo Scandura.
Oh, yes. I knew them. And they were a great influence.
Kurt Steiner.
Oh, Kurt Steiner. He's infamous for going to Boston and year after year sprinting around the first turn when the race started at Hayden Row. It was downhill, and away he went at the gun. And there is short-legged Kurt Steiner leading the way. And it was it had become a tradition. Everyone expected him to do that, and there he goes.
And then what happened?
Well, he wasn't very fast.
I was going to say, usually when you do that, you burn out by mile 16.
Well, he burned out by mile 0.5. But he had that enthusiasm, and
Yes.
that's priceless.
It is. It is. Did you know Alan Steinfeld?
Yes.
He was
Yes.
He was a good president.
He was and he was director of New York Marathon, right?
Yeah, he was president of the club.
Yeah.
John Sterner, Bill Wicklund and Winlow and Joe Yancey. Did you ever know anyone from the Pioneer Club?
Not that I know of specifically.
Okay.
I mean, I did, but I can't recall names at the moment.
All right. Develop your list of New England RRCA pioneers, race directors, leaders from 58 to 79 who had an influence on the governance of the sport. And he gives you examples. He says, I'll start with Bob Campbell, John Semple, Fred Brown, Walter Brown, George Brown, Will Clooney, Walter Childs, and Jerry Nason. Do you have anything to say about their influence on the governments of the sport?
Each one of them had tremendous influence, and each one of them deserves a book of their own. I think all of them have been mentioned in my book.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they all have.
They're in the index.
Do you have memories of racing against African-American runners Moses Mayfield, Art Hall, or Otis Sanders?
Yes. Moses Mayfield would often either win the race or drop out. He was full of optimism. So he was a great runner. I can't recall exact results, but he would often be out in front, and you'd never see him again, or you'd see him walking along. I mean, you got to give it a shot. You got to try it. It's a competition. I mean, it's not a jogathon time trial. It's a race, and it
Right.
counts.
Yeah.
And he took that seriously.
Did you know BAA runner Scotto Gonzalez?
No, not really. No, he was a bit ahead of me.
Okay. And finally, what motivated you to write the history of the Boston Marathon? And give us one or two of your favorite BAA marathon stories.
Well, I wrote the book before some detached sports writer would write it. Someone who would use baseball and football metaphors to describe the marathon. I want to write it from the inside as someone who had experienced it and knew all the feelings involved. I mean, I'd been there, I'd done that. So I could understand all the, okay, early reporters generated a lot of BS about the race. And I knew they didn't have it right. So I didn't include that in the book.
You wanted to correct it. You wanted the correct factual history.
Yeah, they were, well, I wanted to select the pertinent facts from history. I mean, that's the job of an historian, is not simply to record all the notes, because that would be boring. You have to make a judgment and pick out the things that are corroborative, that tell the story. One thing that didn't was the reporters who described marathoning like they were a boxing match. They were having these marathoners fall down and then get up again. Nobody does that. Nobody falls down in a marathon and then gets up again and runs again and takes the lead and then falls down again. And no, they do that in a boxing match.
Right.
So no, you don't see any of that in the book. So I wanted to tell the story from the point of view of a person who's been there and knew lots of the people. I mean, I knew everybody, almost everybody, from my era. And then from the guys who are a little bit older than me, I had heard the stories of Clarence DeMar, for example. I mean, who died in 57, and I didn't start running until 64.
Did you interview any of the prior runners like Clarence, or did you interview their family members? Did you speak to any of them?
I found very little of that. I was hoping I would find letters, correspondence, and stories, and there wasn't much.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, the richest source was the newspaper reports. And I read every newspaper report, every Boston Marathon, every April, for weeks in April, because there were a lot of pre-race stories and post-race stories. And Boston had a lot of newspapers.
Yeah.
Morning editions, evening editions, Boston Herald, Boston American, Boston Globe, and so on. So I had to sort through all that. But I wanted to be the filter because I knew the sport. I wanted to tell that story.
So did you go to the library for that? Did you, how did you obtain some of those early
I spent enormous amounts of time in the basement of the Boston Public Library in the microfilm room.
That's what I'm thinking. It was on microfilm.
Yeah. And that required a great deal of marathoner-like discipline on my part, because here I am scrolling through the microfilm, and I turn, and here's the days in April, and I turn, and there's a page like it really just happened, like the San Francisco earthquake, 1906. Like, oh, wow, San Francisco's on fire. And then,
so you got sidetracked reading the paper.
Yeah, a few years later, the Titanic sank. Like, okay, I got to stop reading this stuff. Okay, find the marathon stuff. And there was also Hitler in wars, and a lot of stuff happened in April.
A lot of stuff. How long did it take you to write your first Boston Marathon book?
2 years.
2 years. That's pretty fast, considering all the work that went into it.
Well, Hey, writing is hard work. However, if you have notebooks full of notes, they sort of sit there. Here's a notebook, and then the notebook starts bubbling, it makes noise, blah, 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 blah. You got to tell somebody about it. You got to take all those notes and you got to tell the story.
Mhm.
And it's sort of compelling. Once you've taken the notes, you got to do something with it.
Yeah.
And you got to do it now because it's not going to happen by itself. The notes are not going to bubble out of the notebook and type themselves.
Yeah. Well, and also speaking about history, you and I talked about this before, is that, you are a big believer of capturing the history and making it accurate and everything you've done. And that's what Gary's trying to do. But who's reading it? Who's interested?
Uh, this may come around. There's a sort of adage about a person when he's young hears their grandparents tell some stories and is completely bored. Then when the grandparents pass away, I wish I had asked more.
Oh my gosh, yes, we do that all the time about anything.
Yes. So I think it'll come around. Yeah.
Okay, good. I hope so. What is your, I mean, this is such a loaded question. Do you have one or two favorite Boston stories from any era?
Uh, no, that's why I had to write a whole book about
You
it.
wrote a book.
I mean, I guess my favorite is my fastest time, of course.
Of course.
I mean, a favorite might be the hey 1977. Uh, uh, there was something wrong with my foot, and I got a cortisone shot and it didn't work. I went 6 miles, and the press truck came by, and I jumped on it and sat on the back.
Oh,
And from there, when we caught up to Bill Rogers, my friend and training partner, and Jerome Drayton, fighting it out.
mhm.
Uh,
Boy, that's a
Rod,
ringside seat.
it was a hot day. Rogers was running poorly, so he dropped out. Now there's Jerome Drayton running next to the press truck. The press truck was open benches like at an athletic event.
Mhm.
And I'm sitting on the lowest one, and he's talking to the press in the truck in the press truck, complaining to them about the lack of water, the lack of organization, and he's running along, winning the Boston Marathon, and complaining about it.
Well, he
And,
had a right to complain. He could have done better with water, but that's very funny. That's very funny. You were there.
and the BAA took those complaints to heart and fixed those things
Right away, like they had water the next year?
the next day. Yes,
Good, good,
no,
good.
next year. Yeah.
Well, you do have great, great stories. I appreciate the time you've taken to tell other stories and help with preserving the history of running, both in Boston and New York. I think Gary picked the right person to represent Boston. So thank you, Tom, for everything.
And thank you for your efforts too.
Yeah,
Uh,
we
I
tried.
mean, you could be on a beach someplace now too.
I could. I might still have time, but I would rather have spent it with you these past 2 hours. And hopefully we will continue our dialogue.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tom. Bye-bye.